come from the dark continent, Africa. They say that I come from the dark continent, Africa. The last time I checked the word dark in the dictionary, it meant evil or wickedness, without knowledge or enlightenment, a state of ignorance, difficult to understand the absence of light. But I still believe in Africa, and I'm proud to be an African, because even though my continent has been marked by civil wars, ethnic wars, tribal wars, and HIV and AIDS is killing my people in masses, while the world watches and the media shows with no remorse, please do not let the media fool you, because to them, news is only when it bleeds, it reads. But I'm not going to abandon my people, and I'm not going to disown my ancestors, and no matter what they say, I am not going to deny my race. Instead, I have chosen to stand up for Africa. I have chosen to defend my history, protect my land, eliminate the perpetrators and their wickedness, and declare peace in the name of justice. Let us not forget that Africa is the richest continent in natural resources, from gold to diamond, rubber to copper, timber to oil. Africa is widely known for its tourism industry. Africa exports tea, coffee, just to name a few. Africa is beautifully endowed with the Great Rift Valley, the Victoria Falls, the pyramids, the oceans, the seas, and even its people. And now, 80% of the world's supply of coltan, a mineral that is used to manufacture cell phones and computers throughout the world, is found in Africa. Tell me, what darkness comes from all of this light? Yet some of my people want to turn our blessings to curses, letting their flesh control their spirit, making a brother kill his own brother, kill his own father, rape his own mother and his own sister in the name of money, power, riches, and fame. Why are we failing to see the big picture, that if we stand up together, rid ourselves of all the corrupt leaders, we can attain riches beyond our imagination, for we are already rich. And if we have to trade, let us not exchange our minerals for cheap change, while the Western world reaps all the benefits. Let us not exchange our minerals for arms to kill our own people. Who then will stand for us if we cannot stand together for ourselves? Instead, let us exchange our minerals for better machinery and technology, so that we can become self-sufficient. And instead of depending on the West, we can all work together. For if we let our selfish interests control us, some of our leaders putting our lives on the line just to fatten their big fat bellies, then we are saying that we did not learn from colonization and slavery. And it will be sad to say that history repeats itself. While we helping to build other nations and continents, while we watch Mother Africa crumble and fall, I am crying for revolution, and I am searching for followers, and I am looking for peacemakers. And until the world says that there shall be no more blood, no more rape, no more poverty on my diamonds, no more blood, no more rape, no more poverty on my gold, no more blood, no more rape, no more poverty on my cell phone, and no more blood, no more rape, no more poverty in my oil. We as a people need to stand up together and defend what is ours, fight for what is ours, own what is ours in peace and not in war. So just like Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream, I too have a dream. I have a dream that one day Africa shall lend and give aid to the world. Oh yes. And I have a dream that one day we shall find the cure to HIV and AIDS and rid our continent of this dreaded disease. And I have a dream that one day our children shall teach the Western children our culture instead of it being vice versa. And I have a dream that one day all the African heads of state will come together, speak in one voice, and together form and create one country, one continent. The United States of Africa. The United States of Africa. The United States of Africa. So listen to our mothers calling, for when Mama Africa calls, we must answer. And I know that we shall get to the mountain top. Thank you.
And given given that, I'm going to take it as my personal responsibility to give you more than my brain. I'm going to give you my heart. It's going to come from my womb. It's going to come from the powerful places that African women have our power, where it centers. So as we know, I asked generally, how many people have heard of AFRICOM? Exactly what I thought. So I prepared just correct. So this is a fairly educated crowd. There's not much new that I'm going to be able to present to you, right? I mean, you know, AFRICOM started in 2007, was announced by George Bush, was built in the labs of, the Pentagon by Donald Rumsfeld, and after he left, it was then taken on by Robert Gates, who then, his broken history is the only Department of Defense minister that has been able to stay in power under two presidential terms, a Republican first and a Democrat. And the questions, can be asked why. All of this is fact. And any other new developments that have happened with AFRICOM can be easily understood through a quick Google search. So there's more that I should be able to offer you all at this time than just some facts and things that you have general and probably superior understandings than I do at this moment. So what I would like to do is engage you all in a few things. Let's go on a little journey. Let's think about us. Let's put us in historical context. Us here in this room right now. Who are we? Who are we to African people? What is our purpose and function for our people, given what we know about AFRICOM, what it was supposed to have been, what it is becoming, what it's going to be, and given the greater context of militarization, whether it's from France or Europe, whether it's from NATO, whether it's from right here in the United States and the police departments, from whatever angles, whether it's from our own armies and stuff in Africa, who are we within the context of a liberation movement that is pretty much suffering at this point? As we sit here in an audience, we can talk about France. We can talk about all the crazy things that they're doing in Cote d'Ivoire. We can talk about NATO. We can talk about AFRICOM and what it's doing in Somalia, what it's doing in Mauritania, what it's doing in Gambia, what it's doing in Libya. But who are we? And what are we going to do? It's a real question, Is a real question that I want us to think about. One thing that comes to my mind is that everybody has an Africa plan. France has an Africa plan. Clearly, they're executing it in Cote d'Ivoire. United States clearly has an Africa plan. It's called AFRICOM, Africa Command, and they got a plan. The good thing about U.S., they have a plan for everybody, including people right here and Africans, particularly Africans here in the U.S.
That's right.
China's got an Africa plan. India's got an Africa plan. Every single group of people have an active, living, functional Africa plan, but Africans.
That's right.
Right? Now, this isn't, I'm glad you're applauding, but I really, really want us to be present.
There you go.
I want us to be present in who we are right now and the history that we're telling. That somebody is going to read, somebody is going to pour libations for, somebody is going to think about us, and I hope they're not going to think about us in shame. We are living in an unprecedented historical moment in which Africa is the center. Now, the motivation for AFRICOM, is the same motivation that it was during the transatlantic slave trade, the same motivation it was during the first scramble for Africa during colonial rule. Our resources, both human and natural, it is the jewel of the planet. Our home.
That's right.
The land that makes us who we are. Everybody needs a piece of it. We need a piece of it. I would feel to say more than anyone else. considering that in the psychological warfare, as the brother had said, every study that comes out is that black people are on the bottom of every list or the top of the worst list, the highest crime rates, the worst health care in any section of the world. How is it possible that black people in the United States are the highest HIV/AIDS population in the world, and then black people in Africa, oceans away, are also the highest population of HIV/AIDS population in the world? I mean, you can have your conclusions as to what that may mean, but the point of stating that is that we're in bad shape, right? We're in worse than bad shape. And on top of that, we're being militarily attacked and re-attacked. To say recolonization, I think, is somewhat of a misnomer. It's incorrect, because colonization never stopped. The process has always been on a continuum. It has changed its face. Before AFRICOM, now we talk about AFRICOM and we get upset and we get, anxious, and I was really, when I started studying AFRICOM right in 2007, I mean, it just did something to me. I felt like, what if I had information that slave ships were about to dock the ports of West Africa? What would be my responsibility? I would shout it to every African: stay away from the white people, don't talk to them, don't do any business with them, don't take their guns, do nothing. And that's exactly what I did. I went out and I decided I was going to talk to people about AFRICOM, just in the spirit as if I knew slavery was about to start, because I feel its impact is going to be even more devastating, considering that we've had that experience already. And I believe, I'm not a prophet, but I am going to make a, prophecy here. I think that we have a small window. I think we have given maybe 5 years before we really understand it. We can't even gather like this anymore. That these kinds of things are going to be a privilege, right? One of the things that AFRICOM is engaged in actively is in intelligence work. Mm-hmm. That means that in any group of people, and I suspect in any group, including this one, there are people here and in any group that are taking notes, that are really undermining us in every step of the way. And that's not to create any sense of paranoia, it's just to tell the truth. Right? That's their main investment. The guns and all the other fanfare, that's decoration, That's really political theater. The crux of why I feel I want us to be present is because if we are present, we can be able to assess what we can do in reality, given the context that we live in, given the knowledge that we know. We applaud that, yes, we have, a higher intelligence. It's documenting everything that we're doing. Fine, good. We know that there are wars being sponsored on our behalf. Yes, great. We know that we are under attack and that every single war in Africa is not being funded by any real African efforts. We can say that African people are the foot soldiers, but we don't make arms. We don't necessarily even function actively in the arms trade, which is another major thing that AFRICOM is really great at. AFRICOM's, and in addition to its very active intelligence project in which they are about to meet in Gambia to take it one step further in consolidating an intelligentsia to win African intellectuals, win African able-bodied people to become part of their agencies. They come in our universities here, they come in our universities on the continent to recruit us to become participants in these kinds of projects. And we proudly do so under our neo-colonial brain cells that aren't functioning correct in our own interests. We also have to keep in mind that Africans, that we, not some abstract group of Africans, that we also have the ability and have the duty to take the same intelligence that they find true about us, the jewels that they know about us, those of us who have a class privilege, who have a certain education background, we can actively reintroduce ourselves into revolutionary life. Let's not be scared of the word revolution. That's what we need to be about, considering that we are militarily attacked. That requires our revolutionary intellectuals. That requires our revolutionary artists. That requires our revolutionary anything. Revolutionary street cleaners, revolutionary shoe shiners, revolutionary, anything that we do needs to keep the spirit of liberation, needs to awaken, reawaken. If there is a re-something, it is the reawakening that we must fight, that we have a duty to fight. I want to be remembered by my blood, by my son and his children and his children's children, that I fought for my people. And I think we all want that for ourselves. But the question is, are we willing to do what it takes to make that the reality of our situation? Do we know what it takes to make that a reality of our situation? Sometimes I get really discouraged because, on an everyday level, especially in Washington, D.C., it's like pick a cause, any cause. There are, again, people organizing on macro levels and on micro levels, and people thinking and moving and shaking and grooving and doing all kinds of things, and things that kind of sort of resemble revolution and are really, really close to something that, I read about. But in reality, I am yet to experience the kind of motion that affects and infects every single person, that it becomes part of our daily practice. So he just left me a note here that says I have about 10 more minutes. No? So I'm going to conclude in saying that, yes, France is actively in Côte d'Ivoire, and U.S. is very actively in Libya, occupying the streets of Southeast D.C. and Northeast and Northwest and anywhere else we are, everywhere, here around the corner. That in Somalia, that there are U.S.-sponsored prisons, and all of these are under the guise of Africa in one way, shape, or the form. That the military has a budget, an exorbitant budget, but can't find money to send our children to school, right? All of this is known information. You knew that when you walked in this door. So I only leave you with the question, and I hope that it's answered in your actions. And in my actions, too. I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to me, too. That what are we going to do? Where is our Africa plan? And not just my Africa plan, our Africa plan together. Where is it? Thank you.
We need an Africa plan, do we not? She brought up one thing. We want to take a second to speak to it. I did a program. We have the only people in the world who sacrifice our heroes and our sheroes, and we destroy them and we forget them, and we celebrate our traitors and our inner enemies. Oh yes, it's true. It's a fact. And the day that we decide that we will survive and that Africa will be free and redeemed is the day that a traitor, a sellout, male or female, Catholic or Protestant, Muslim or animist, knows that their you-know-what is grass if they act against the survival of their own people. The new Africa must not tolerate traitors. I'll speak to this and I'm done. If you ever get a chance to look up what was written about the Macrobian Ethiopians, I know you know about that, Dr. Asante. It was the duty of the African mother to strangle her own son if he wasn't man enough to lay his life down for the survival of his people. It was the most difficult task laid before anyone in that society, was a mother to kill her own son because he was a Tom. But that practice must have existed because we've always had a few who would squander our destiny for their own selfish interest. The day must come where the traitors, the caboseers, the Uncle Toms, the Republicans, whatever you want to call them, are called to justice. A new Africa will never tolerate traitors, will never let them be heads of state, will never let them hide behind being a pastor or a bishop or a preacher. You will never be able to do that. Let us pray that this happen immediately, that the traitors, the sellouts, the enemies, the smugglers. I went to Harvard with Obama, and the first time I saw Obama, he was denouncing black folks. I've never liked him since. So I've been saying that for about 20 years. I'm glad some folks are where I was in 1988. But without further ado, Sister Anna, we're calling on our sister to raise us up, to give us some more. Just please give us the inspiration. Thank God for our African women. Thank God for our African woman that just spoke. Can we give another applause for both of these sisters, how they've lifted us up, how she's challenged me. She's like Cynthia McKinney. I'm afraid of bombs, but when I saw Cynthia went, I said, God, I got to at least be half the man that Cynthia McKinney is. God bless you. Come on, take this mic. Do what you want to do with it.
That's beautiful.
Again, I just want to say thank you for being given this opportunity. And I'm going to do a poem, and it's on my CD that I'm selling. And I have them with me today. But this poem speaks very deeply to what my sister and the other speakers have said. And it's called Blood Shed. Yeah, yeah, mama way, yeah, mama way, yeah, mama way. This is not funny, that in the 21st century, where modernization has taken place and the world has become a global village, the poorer are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. They say they were civilizing us from our uncivilized ways. They say they were modernizing us from our primitive ways. But somewhere in Africa and Haiti, they are burying us in mass graves. Somewhere in Asia, our children are feeding on trash. Somewhere in Europe, our women are being abused. And somewhere in America, our men are languishing in jails. When will the blood of Patrice Lumumba come and heal our land? For our women are being abused and our children are taught to kill. When will the blood of Tom Mboya come and set us free? For our leaders have become so corrupt, obsessed by power and greed. When will the blood of Mahatma Gandhi come and satisfy us? For we have become, for the disparity gap is definitely widening. When will the blood of JFK come and unify us? For we have become so divided like water and oil, spewing hatred every time we speak. When will the blood of Martin Luther King come and bring us justice? For injustice is being celebrated and justice is being shunned. I cry for justice, for without justice, there is no peace. I celebrate mortality, for death seems to be the only consoler for the meek and the weak. And those who lose their lives for justice, they will gain it. And those who gain their lives for injustice, they will lose it. For what goes up must come down. What goes up must come down. And until you do right by us, I say until you do right by us, nothing good is going to come to you. Thank you.
That's what we're fighting for. That's what we're fighting for. Do you agree with me? Give her another round of applause. Speaking of women, there was a play at the Arena stage called Ruin, a play that caused me to lose a whole lot of sleep. And I think I didn't go back and I could get free tickets because I'm a member of the Friends of the Congo. I couldn't deal with it, honestly. But we have Mr. Maurice Carney here. He's Executive Director of Friends of the Congo. It is the single and most important organization in the United States and arguably in the Western world that is fighting to end the genocide and the mass rape and abuse of women and girls in the Congo. This brother has gone all over the country and all over the world, found a way to support himself when folks wouldn't give money. You know, foundations don't give money to us when we're fighting for our own people. But he's been at it for 14 years with no end in sight. No end in sight. He just keeps going. And it's not just Congo. He's doing stuff with Zimbabwe, helping out with Ivory Coast, doing things around Haiti. He's either helped with websites or networked, goes through and helps other people. This is truly one of the greatest men that I have met in the last 20 years. And so without further ado, I'm going to have Maurice Carney speak on the Congo. Can we say welcome, Maurice Carney? Welcome, Maurice Carney. Give it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Randy. Randy's too kind. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And first I have to apologize for being late. We were at a retreat, and it had taken a minute. We had to wrap up. I want to thank all the panelists, Sister Chioma, my brother Peter, Dr. Sante. Definitely thank Nyaka for providing us with the opportunity to share with you the work we're doing around the Congo. Nyaka has been trying for the last, I shouldn't say he's been trying, we've been talking for the last couple of years about doing a forum on the Congo, and with a particular focus on the role that NGOs, non-government organizations in Washington, are playing in carrying out U.S. strategic and economic interests.
Sure enough.
On the African continent, Congo in particular, under the guise of humanitarianism. So this is the opportunity that we've had to come and deal with the issue of the Congo. I like to start off by sharing with you just briefly what Friends of the Congo is about. We are an advocacy institution that has really two main aims. And one is to raise global consciousness about what's taking place in the Congo. And two, which we find to be most important, is to provide support to local institutions that are working to bring about change in the Congo. And often, people say to us, well, why do you just focus on one country? What is it about the Congo? And I often share with them, well, it's not just one country. And Congo itself, if you take a look at it, it's the product of a European geostrategic battle for the control of the African continent. In 1885, when Congo was given to King Leopold II as his own personal property, that was done at what they called the Berlin Conference. But it was also called the Congo Conference. And Congo was the, the free zone that served as a buffer, preventing European powers from going to war against each other to control the heart of Africa. That's why they call it the Congo Free State, and given to King Leopold II as his own personal property, so that European nations can have free reign in that area. And for those, as you know, Congo is literally and figuratively in the heart of Africa. That's right. It's bordered by 9 other African countries. It's the size of Western Europe. One of the largest countries in the world, in the top 20, estimated 60 to 70 million people. And Congo is the fulcrum on which the African continent swings. That's why former South African President Thabo Mbeki said flatly, there is no new Africa without a new Congo. It may be hyperbole, but Chairman Mao said that he who controls the Congo controls the world. Fanon said that Africa is like a gun. Congo is a trigger. You pull that trigger, it sets off a combustion that affects the entire African continent. Now, Pan-Africanists and non-Pan-Africanists alike recognize the significance of the Congo. Now, Obama is not a Pan-Africanist, we all know that. But even he said that if Africa is to achieve its promise, resolving the problem in the Congo will be critical. Right? So, as Africa goes, or as Congo goes, so does Africa. If you want a strong Africa, you have to have a strong Congo. And Nkrumah himself recognized the significance of the Congo. He wrote a book on it, The Challenge of the Congo. He saw Leopoldville, today Kinshasa, as being the capital of the United States of Africa. Saw that Congo would serve as the economic engine for the development of the African continent. Che Guevara, all the way in Latin America, he went to the Congo, spent time with the rebels. He saw it as the vanguard, or one of the vanguards on the African continent, in the fight against imperialist encroachment. And he said of the Congo, he said that Congo is a world issue.
Yes.
Victory, right? And will be the victory that's won in the Congo, or victory or defeat, will be consequential in scope. That means what happens there will affect the entire African continent. And we understand this. Malcolm himself, that's how I got introduced to the Congo, by listening to tapes by Malcolm X. He would always lay out the geostrategic significance of the Congo and why it is that people of African ancestry should rally around the Congo. And we see Congo's importance probably no better than in Patrice Emery Lumumba himself. A nationalist, Pan-Africanist, that Nkrumah made sure to invite in the 1958 Pan-African Conference before he was even elected. And Lumumba stood up and said, at his June 30th speech, that he wanted the wealth of the Congo to be utilized for the benefit of the people of the Congo and for Africa at large. And in his famous work, The Assassination of Lumumba, Ludo DeWitt said, this sounded the bell for the removal of Lumumba. Because the West could not sustain or allow a strong leader in a strong country owned by black people, the wealth owned by Africans in the heart of the African continent. Because they knew the significance of this. That immediately, if Congo stands up and is stable, it affects 9 countries around it. That means it's going to affect the British influence, the Portuguese influence, the French influence, all who had colonies around the Congo. So Congo is vital to the future of the African continent. And that is why we as Friends of the Congo, we focus on the Congo. We figure our best investment on the continent to bring about the greatest return would be to work in solidarity with our brothers and sisters inside the Congo. We're talking about a country that's got enormous wealth, spectacular wealth. We look at Congo's river alone, has the hydro capacity to light up the entire African continent. With some left over for Southern Europe and the so-called Middle East. In 2007, the Italians were in Congo, seeing how Italy can get electricity cheaper from the Congo than it's paying for electricity right now. the World Energy Council has an $80 billion plan on the table to develop the Congo River so they can provide electricity for Europe. Europe has two plans for its future energy needs. One is in the Sahel, setting up solar panels to provide electricity and energy to Europe. The second is in the Congo, providing electricity to Europe coming out of Congo. Congo's riches. We're not even talking about the minerals. We're not talking about the diamonds and the gold and the copper and the tin. We just talk about agriculture alone. Congo has the agricultural capacity to feed the entire world through 2050, when the world's population is estimated to be 9 billion. So you can understand why, from 1885 to 1908, an estimated 10 to 15 million Africans lost their lives. And from 1996 to the present, an estimated 6 million black people lost their lives. And we hardly know about it. Why is that? Why are so many people losing their lives? Because this is the most critical place on the African continent for the control of the strategic resources that the West needs for its military industry, for its aerospace industry, for its technology industry, for its electronics industry, for its automotive industry, for the West. Congo has all those strategic minerals that are vital to the functioning of Western industries. So it's incumbent upon us. That's why Friends of Congo is issuing a call to conscience and a call to action that if you're a Pan-Africanist, if you love Africa, you ought to be doing something about the Congo. You ought to be saying something about the Congo. You ought to be finding out why Congo is in the situation it is. You ought to want to know why Che went there. Why Malcolm financed movement in the Congo. Why he always talked about it in his speeches. So the challenges that were existent when Lumumba was assassinated are there today, maybe even intensified. That's why we say that today's movement, the global movement that Friends of Congo is supporting, is as important today as the Free South Africa movement was yesterday. Each and every one of you, as Pan-Africanists, as humanists, whatever you are, you ought to be concerned about what's happening in Congo. Because it says a lot about us, not only as Pan-Africanists, but as human beings, that we let so many black people die without even raising a voice, without even mobilizing, without even asking, how can I help you, brother? So this is what Friends of Congo is doing. Mobilizing and educating people around the Congo, mobilizing support for Congo, as we operate under a simple syllogism. We believe that a strong Congo equals a strong Africa. A strong Africa equals a strong African world. And that's the call to conscience that we're issuing for you to join us in solidarity with our brothers and sisters on the African continent. And thank you very much.
Congo! Let's do that again. Congo must be free.
Vous l'avez découvert ici. Que vous avez découvert Ivoire TV. Ivoire TV.